Yay Networks.
Welcome to the Great Girlfriends podcast, where we discuss life, love, laughter, and everything in between. I'm your host, Sybil, and I can't wait for you to hear all of the Great Girlfriend magic on today's show. So without further ado, grab something great to drink, grab your pen and your paper, and get ready for this week's episode. Enjoy! Oh my goodness, what a wonderful Wednesday, especially when you're spending it with your great girlfriends. How exciting could it be to have friendship that lasts not 1 year, not 2 years, not 10, 20, but maybe 30 years? Is it possible? These two ladies say absolutely. And if you could have seen their spirit, their energy, and their zest when they came in the room, the connection was so unmatched. And I'm trying to kind of add myself as a third great girlfriend to their story, but I'm so new. I have so much to catch up on. So we need like a mega slumber party to give me all the updates from all the years and the milestones. But I thought it'd be wonderful for us to share a really powerful story of great girlfriendship, something that has lasted the test of time and situations and circumstances and triumphs and highs and lows and all the things that come our way. So I am super excited for us to dive into this sisterhood of Julie Gordon-White and Tracy McCubbin. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for having us.
I'm so happy to have you both here. Really happy.
We've been talking about this for oh my God.
Yes.
Our friendship, you stopped in the decade. You didn't get to our decade.
What is your decade?
Of friendship?
54 years.
No way. Mm-hmm. How?
Well,
our origin, we have an amazing origin story.
Yeah,
so our fathers were in law school together, and our mothers were working to put our fathers through law school, and everybody was so broke that they shared a babysitter.
Yeah. They could only afford half of a babysitter.
Yeah, they could only afford half a babysitter. So Julie and I were forced to be friends, and that was it.
That was it.
Wow, 54 years into friendship.
Yep.
Do the math.
Yep. Oh my gosh. No one do the math.
No, bring it. We're good.
We are.
I'm doing the math.
Oh, yeah, we are.
Goodness.
Yeah, we are
because
58.
I'm looking because the questions have changed. I'm like, so wait, skincare, vitamin. It's a whole other interview once we start doing the math.
Anything.
There's so much that sits in the belly of 54 years. I can't imagine the stories. I can't imagine the myriad of emotions that you both experience. Even as you're navigating life individually, you have so many highs, lows, and feels. But when you have someone who is a great girlfriend, a partner in your story, you take on each other's connection and you take on their story. So I really want to know. So we started with the babysitter. And what's smart parents, first of all, to do community sitting and
smart moms.
Smart mama.
And desperate. Right? How do we do this?
Mother. What do they say? Is a
necessity is the mother of invention.
Yes, it is. Absolutely, because they made something work that I'm sure they did not imagine would have the lifespan that it's had.
Right.
At the time they were creating a solution to really make it through law school
to solve a problem. But
it solved a number of problems, which is for so many women, there's a challenge in finding great friendships.
Yeah.
There's always this question of how do I do it? Is it possible? Can it last? Right? And when there are fragments or when there are times when friendship gets really rough, is it the end or is it just a turning point in the relationship? And so I'm pretty sure your 54 years says you say, yes, it can last, yes, you can have it. I want to know, how do you both define, because I think you're probably beyond, I think you're sisters. I think there's blood here. I think you trade kidneys.
Absolutely.
And
pajamas, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, I forgot my pajamas. She's like, here you go.
Yeah.
Whatever.
To put it, her parents sat next to, I got married 3 weeks ago. Her parents sat next to my mom at the family table.
Wow.
That was, it's just, and
it was like my parents had a daughter getting married.
Oh, I love it.
Her dad was the final say in was I marrying Richard?
Oh my
Her
goodness.
dad pulled him aside and was like, I have some questions for you.
Yeah.
We've known Teapot since she was, you need to come talk to me. So
Teapot.
It was.
I love that.
It is
I still say that and people are like, who are you talking about, right? In a professional email.
Right.
So now I just try to do tea because then it gets too weird. But
So, okay. What does friendship mean to you at this point? Because I so Great Girlfriend's really funny. There was a third person on the invite, so I was like, "Is this person coming?" And they're like, "I said, is there a third person?" They're like, "No. This is this is the duo here." Because what does friendship look like to you, and what does the criteria become for you for people who can become part of your friendship?
That's a big question.
Ooh,
yeah. What is friendship?
I think for me, I'll just speak for me that part of Julie and I, and on my end, is that, there were times she raised kids, I didn't have kids. There were times that our lives looked very different, and we would go a couple years, without speaking. But I always knew that was the phone number I could call. I think it's a true friendship in that I don't have to tend to it. Are you okay? Are you mad at me? When we would come back together of times, of separation, it wasn't like, oh, I'm so sorry I haven't called. It's just like, what have you been up to? It's like, oh my God, I just got my kids through middle school. I just got Scotty off to college. Like, where have you been? Like, we never wasted time talking about where we didn't show up for each other. It was like, we just got back. And as we entered middle age or next chapter, and her kids were out and we got realigned sort of where we were, it's just like, you just bring the history with you. There's so much you don't have to explain. Like, I have challenging parents. She knows all that. There's family thing. Like, we know it all. So you go so deep, so fast. And I think one of the true signs of a friendship is you don't have to apologize.
Yes.
Right.
I love that.
And that's where friendship crosses into sisterhood, truly, because we have that unspoken connection, or saying the same things, or wearing the same clothes when we are in the same room. It's a feeling. It's a feeling. And yes, we didn't start out like, hey, want to be my friend? We were thrown together, but we also grew together. Yeah. And so as Tracy or T was saying, as you go through different stages in life, you might not be the everyday person, but that never changed who we are to each other. And so then when our lives were back in a everyday alignment, we're just like right in sync with everything. And there's no like, hey, like, how are you? Like, it was just like, hey, what do you need? Like, hey, like straight to it, like a sister.
Yeah.
So,
and I do think that's a great point. Like, especially sort of middle school years, like we both had other best friends, and you're navigating the difficult of high school, and Julie got a boyfriend earlier on, and
okay, do we have to go there?
But that was your focus, like sort of at the end of high school, that you were that and but there was just always a feeling like you just always knew, like it wasn't this needy, I said something about somebody recently. I was like, oh, very flowery gardens need a lot of water. Like those big, and with Julie and I, it's like, we're just a lawn. Like, we like,
totally.
Like, we just knew, you could take your shoes off and you could walk on it and you'd feel at home. And it may get dry during the summer, but it'll come back in the winter. Like, it's such a foundation.
Yeah. It's always there.
And I think when you're also, as women in the world, you just can't discount the people in your life, especially the other women who know your history. You just can't.
Yeah. I think sometimes people feel shamed when people know their history, or they know people know where they've come from versus where they are. I think a lot of times people want to detach themselves from their past, and which I completely disagree with, because there's so much heritage in how we've grown and how you evolve and who you become. But I think a lot of times people want to create a sense of separation because they don't want to feel burdened by their history.
But that's a true definition of friendship.
Yeah,
is that there is no burden.
Yeah.
It's just, this is who I was or went through, or something I said or did. Is this the part where I say how bossy I was to you?
Yes, this is the part.
Is this going to come? So I'm going to try to get ahead of it before she says it. That's really what's going to happen. She's going to throw me under the table here in a minute.
Well, we went back for our, I think our 20th. We went back for our high school reunion, and I hadn't been back to the town that we grew up in, and we're staying at her folks' house, and her dad, I was like, to her dad, I was like, will you drive me around? I want to like see all my houses and stuff. And so I'm in the front seat of his car, and Ron's driving, and I'm like, oh yeah, and that's the time that Julie made me do X, Y, and Z, and then Julie's just laying in the back like, I was the worst friend.
I was very in charge. Yeah. That's just my personality. I'm a serial entrepreneur. Like I'm just in charge.
Yeah.
And I was always in charge. You know, Julie's a nice girl, but she tends to be a little bossy. You know, that's like a report card from first grade. So, so Tracy took the brunt of that often in our younger years because I was in charge, but I've really mellowed out a lot.
Well, and
actually, I let you boss me around now.
I'm actually now the bossing has flipped.
I love it.
I'm going to say two things about it. I want to go back to bossiness, so let's go back to that.
Yeah,
but I also
because
want
it's
to
actually
say,
a good thing. But
I actually I'm getting a little teary because I don't know if I've ever said this to Julie. I had a very chaotic childhood. I had a very different home life than Julie did, and I think that I appreciated the bossiness because I knew she cared and I knew she was paying attention, and that wasn't happening in my home.
Right. Love you too.
I love you too. But really, like, I'm like her family. Like, it was a safe place, and I didn't always tell. Especially, you talk about like it was hard to say. You're a kid, you don't know. Like, what's happening is not normal, and so I think that there was a comfort in Julie. Like, we're doing it this way because it was such chaos that I lived in. I'm like, okay, great. So while I give her a hard time about it, I also. It meant she loved me.
Structure too, and it was protection.
Oh, I love you.
Kisses.
Yeah. Did you know any of her? Did you know any of her home life? Did you?
Yes.
So you were aware. Did it feel abnormal to you to see the way that she was? Her upbringing versus yours.
Well, to be honest, okay, this is a kid. You go to somebody else's house, it's always better than yours.
Always.
It's because she had freedom.
Yeah. My house
Her
was
parents
fun.
were doing their thing. My parents were like, hey, it's 4:02. Where are you? Or we were both latchkey kids, but still, I was very accountable to my parents. And Tracy had more freedom. So I'm like, I'm going to T's house. It's way more fun over there.
Yeah, no one's paying attention.
Right.
Yeah.
Everybody's paying attention at my house.
Yeah.
So.
Wow, that's interesting. Isn't that something? Did you know that she felt that way about your house growing up? Like, she thought your house was the cool house with more freedom. She loved to be over there. And you're like, I
want to go to her house because someone's going to the grocery store and she's got good snacks and I know I'm going to get a meal. And, I just remember we just ride our bikes back and forth from Cabrillo Street to Anza, we just kind of flopped. And I think
we were lucky to grow up in a small town where we had a lot of freedom and safety. So we could ride our bikes everywhere and we didn't have to worry about what was happening. But my parents were still from the Bay Area in California and on it.
Okay.
So, but it's still, we grew up in a little bit of a bubble. I would say.
We had a great. But I want to go back to this bossy because we Miss Sutherland, our second grade teacher, we both got the bossy note.
Wow.
And by the way, we both now run our own very successful businesses and have both written best-selling books. And so it's like this idea that bossy's bad.
Yeah.
Like we were like, oh, and now we're like, okay, well, yeah, we are.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
I appreciate that. That's a compliment.
You're either with me or you're against me.
Yeah.
Get out of the way because this train is moving.
It's for girls who have a voice, who are certain and who are authoritative in the way that they move. Like that piece of self-acceptance, I feel like is what it is. It can be so misconstrued. And I'm so glad that you didn't succumb to the idea that bossy was negative.
Right.
Yet instead you were like, what could come of this boss power I have?
What?
This great boss
We
energy
did
that I have.
we also in 4th and 5th grade or 5th and 6th grade, we got into a gifted program, the two of us. And that for me was where being bossy turned. That's where I was encouraged for having a voice and using it. Up until then, it was like, you're bossy and you're a know-it-all. And now
my parents always encouraged it, actually, especially my mom. My dad, being a lawyer, we had a lot of going back and forth of that dialogue, basically me arguing my point all the time. He's like, oh my goodness. But my mom especially was cheering that kind of personality on and that confidence of saying what you need and kind of going toe to toe with my dad until it like crossed over into like, okay, you need to back down now.
All right, enough.
So I had a lot of encouragement around that way of being. So
I also think even in the chaos, my mom was very successful and worked very hard. And I definitely think both of our mothers were like, you guys are going someplace. Right. Like we were
be strong young women.
Be strong young women, and you're going. You great things are in front of you. That was very communicated to both of us.
Mm-hmm. You said something valuable about when you start speaking of each other's homes and the differences, and not really knowing that maybe she felt that your house was more. You felt that her house was more freeing, and she liked the sort of certainty of your house. But in friendship, you do fill in the spaces, and you don't quite know how or when. You just know that you're doing it by just being. Yeah. That sense of being and that presence that you offer when people are going through. You never know what your friend is going through, and then you get to a place where your friends, ready, especially as children, where they then become more open because they can trust you with a family secret or, with a transition that's happening that doesn't feel so good. But I want to know, because you've progressed, there's every stage of life. So you hit every milestone.
Every stage and every bad haircut. We've gone through all the bad hairdos.
I think I need the pictures. Yeah. I think I need the
we have a fun picture to share with you at some point when we were, I don't know, maybe in first grade and adults, the same. It's kind of
where
the
they
same
started
faces.
Versus where they
we had a great one.
It's the same
the hair
face.
is probably so cute.
Oh, there's a school picture from like fourth grade where I have like bad bangs and a thing, and Julie has.
My mom cut my hair for the first time, and it was not cute. Not. And I was very angry, but I never wanted to comb my hair, so she's like, we're done with that. So we have all that evidence.
Wow. Tell me about your absolute favorite moment in the friendship. I want to hear from you, Julie. Your favorite friendship moment where you were like, that is my girl.
There's so many.
I know.
It's hard to pick one, but I would have to say our last 10 years together have just been precious. We really interact like sisters, and neither one of us have sisters, by the way. So we're it.
Yeah.
And we've been through all the things together, especially around our businesses, we exchange on that, our partners. My husband loves her, adores her. And it's hard. It's like a collective feeling of sisterhood, that a deepness that I had never had before. I'd always had T as my, bestie, my oldest bestie. That's kind of how we sort of landed on this, because when you have multiple women in your life, like we hold that space of our oldest bestie, and that also honors the other women in our lives. But it's just the feeling that we have now. And I honestly, Tracy just getting married, when I saw her, I burst into tears for the joy. And it's, that she had found a beautiful person that honored her for who she is today, and that love. And she's had other guys, but none worthy enough. That's what I will say. Worthy enough. But to see her and her full joy, and she's always a joyous person, but to find her person, it was my heart. I was just overflowing with emotion for her. So it's not even so much about our interaction, but it's all our whole lives had come through that moment that my sister was having this incredible experience. I don't know. There's too many to say. I'm just going on and on. But
these last 10 years, your children would have been, your last would have maybe been leaving the house. And I'm wondering if that's part of the time that you maybe have to.
They were older.
Yeah, they're older. So
my youngest would have been 10 years ago, but so older, out of the little less.
Because I think we really didn't. I mean, when your kids were little and that you had 3, and that's sort of probably the biggest gap in our friendship, because I was sort of in LA, and
it's when you moved to LA.
I moved here, and I was
being the LA life,
sort of the LA party girl, and she was raising kids. So it was never like there was. It just happened. Like I was at her wedding, and then you're raising little kids, like they take all your stuff, and I feel like that really then sort of when we were 40 was a big coming back. I have to say though, I want to go to that sort of moment. I was doing a book tour for my first book, and we were in Davis, the town that we grew up in, and my partner, my now husband, came with, and we were staying at her parents' house, and her and Dave were staying. So there was the 6 of us, And it was the morning after the book event, and we were sitting in this backyard, and it smelled like growing up because it was the town I grew up in. And we, the 6 of us, we were laughing. I mean, like laughing, like almost wet your pants laughing. And I thought to myself, I could do this for the rest of my life. Like I see, like, we're treasuring the moments with her parents because, they're in their 80s and we know, and time is precious. And I was like, that was kind of one of the moments that I knew Rich was my guy because we were so in sync
in that moment.
And we just, when I say like laughing, like just laughing.
Because when you know someone so deeply and that trust is there, and then you add parents on top of that, it's like home. Home.
One of the things that has come up recently in Great Girlfriend Conversation has been around when friends reach milestones at different points. Maybe one friend has reached a financial milestone, they're making far more money than the other, or they're reaching a different place in their career, or they're just starting to do more and feel more successful, and the other friend feeling left behind. And that's come up a lot in conversation. And I'm curious if you've ever been in a place where you felt like one of your lives was tracking faster than the other, and maybe you're like, is there room for me? Did you ever feel that kind of thing?
No, because we're so, especially since I started my business and Julie wrote a book first, we just share that information. We are so like,
lift each other up.
Yeah, we lift each other up. Like I've hit this turns before, we kind of like, we always say like, do you just need to ear right now? Or are you asking for coaching? And so and sometimes it's like, I just need to bitch.
I just need to talk about it. I'll say, okay, well, we can just move on. Tracy's like, yeah, no, actually, I need to sit in this for a minute. I'm like, okay, let's go.
So we're very clear, like, is this just I need your ear or I actually need coaching? But we're so we're on this journey together and as women entrepreneurs, and we're like, let's go. Like I've never felt that.
No.
So then what would you say to a woman or to a duo or a friendship group even where the pace is changing? Like life is happening. And especially, when you start to, honestly, you start to stack, marriages and kids and businesses are babies. They are like
they are needy children.
They are needy children. And you start to add all these things in travel and just different, over time, your interests evolve. I know for you have a home base. There is always a home. I see that. It's like, you guys know, this is the address. This is home base. Yeah. We come back
your room's
to this.
Here, just whenever.
Yes.
Yeah. Right.
It's right here. So what would you say to the duo who is going through that shifting of tides, I guess you should say, and trying to figure out how to resync so that they can move together into the next chapter?
I would say allow the shift.
Yeah.
Allow it, because there are going to be times when you are not doing the same things all the time, and that's okay.
Yeah.
If it's a true friendship, true love, then it's okay. Just like your romantic partner, you're not always perfectly in lockstep.
Yeah.
But if you're committed to the relationship, then you leave space for the gaps that are there and trust that you'll come back in alignment, and you support each other.
Yeah.
And no one is ever going to be, like any relationship, you're never going to be equal, like in the exact same place at the exact same time.
Yeah.
So, and you will change. Somebody will be ahead, whatever ahead is.
Yeah.
Whatever that is.
Relative, girlfriends. It is relative.
Right?
And also I would say, I would say, and I think this is really our friendship superpower, is that if you are in a position where you feel that your girlfriend's sort of jumping, like, learn from them.
Yeah.
Like you want
to take notes.
It's like you say, if you go play tennis, you almost want to play with someone who's better than you to rise up. Like, learn from them instead of saying, oh, like, what are they doing? What are the changes that I can make? How did they get there? Like, mine that information. And that's where Julie and I are really like, ugh, I learned, like, and the flip side, we share our failings.
Yeah.
What? Like, I did this, like we on the car ride over, I have something going on with an employee, and Julie's like, bop, 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 bop. And I'm like, oh, right. Okay.
Yeah.
Like, so, I think that if it feels that way, use it as an opportunity because you're not going to always be in sync. And that's okay.
That's not real life.
No,
but also when it's a true friendship, if you want to have a true friendship, you have to be egoless.
Ooh!
Julie's dropping knowledge.
Yes.
Right? Because
you really
you have to let that go.
Yeah.
Because if you're truly going to be connected, bonded, then it's not always going to be the same. You just have to let that ego go. What can you share? What can you learn? And if you're truly committed to lifting each other up, there's no space for ego. So that's usually what gets in the way.
Across relationships, great girlfriends. Let's
All
just be
things.
very clear.
Works in business too, parenting even,
And I think if you feel like somebody's sort of jumping ahead of you, that's something that's going on with you.
I would agree.
That you look at what I don't know. I just think that's an inner journey because. And and
it's also a place of scarcity versus
absolutely. And I feel like sometimes when you look up and you have that feeling, you've been competing and you didn't even know it, and so you were racing against someone versus standing in line with them and supporting. Okay,
I do want to. I have another who Julie knows quite well. I have another girlfriend or two who. Leslie Thompson.
Okay, she just threw my other bestie out there. Okay, these are like under the table.
The redhead that stole you away in middle school.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I turned my head for a second.
I do it. That makes you come back and appreciate. But I do have a couple girlfriends, and Julie has this too. I think I know for a fact who are financially in a very different place.
Yeah,
generational wealth. Their life is different. And it's an interesting place to be where there are things that I can't do in the way that they can. And, learning to navigate that and to understand, like, to be able to say, like, I can't do that. And, I had one friend who was like, we want to go on this trip. And I was like, and she, I was like, I can't travel in the way that you can.
Yeah.
Like, I just can't. Yeah. And she was like, look, I like to stay in these kinds of hotels. I'm going to pay for the hotels because I want to stay here.
Yeah.
And I was like, great. I'm going to take us out to lunch every day.
There we go.
Right. So
that's a great trip.
I was going to say, I feel my coaching hat coming on, but that's about receiving.
Absolutely.
Right. Women struggle with receiving. And if you can't receive from your best friend, then you can't receive from anybody.
Yeah. Right. Like you just, so I think that, it's about receiving. So if you are in a friendship and you feel like, well, they're getting ahead and they've got the, Louis Vuitton purses and I can't get those. There's something. You're in a scarcity place.
Just say, are you done with that bag? Can I have
it? Right. If you're not using it on Tuesday, because I do feel like in friendship, it's a metaphorical. You're like setting a table, right? And everywhere we go, or even if say you have a picnic blanket, at every stage you set out the blanket and you're like, come friend.
Yes.
This is now where we are. Right. The friend that said, I love these hotels said, you know what? I got rooms. You're like, you know what? I got the top tier lunch.
Yep.
Right.
We're both setting a table wherever we can.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But we're never closing the door to say we don't fit anymore. It's like, how do we fit best now?
Right.
Maybe how do we fit best now? I want to know about a time that your friendship had to go through healing, where maybe you were like, you know what? We have got to heal. This is not a good moment. Or was there ever a time where...
I'm going to say something, but it's not what you think.
Okay.
I'm going to say around healing, I had to heal when I became conscious of me not being too bullying with Tracy. Because I always knew that I was directive in our, how's that for a word?
Directive.
Directive in our friendship. But when I realized as an adult that there were times when it was too much and it was hurtful, I felt really sad about that because I would never want her to feel that I didn't love her or I was
so funny because I took all that as love. Like I was like I was so it's so interesting because for me, like Julie's directness, like I had someone in my life who was like stable and I care and this is what you need to do and I'm like, okay, tell me what to do. So it's funny.
At one point, no, it felt
like
bad. It felt like too much. Like I'd gone too far, and I felt sad about that. So, but as you can see, Tracy never made me feel bad. But it was
because it's funny for me. I feel like I feel like I had kind of had to go through. I felt a little like I wasn't the greatest friend when she was raising her kids. You know,
never said that before.
Yeah, I just felt like I kind of dropped
That
out.
happens here at the Great Girlfriend.
I bet
Show.
it
We get
does.
all kind of first.
Yeah. That I feel like I wasn't really a part of their lives, and I didn't really know them, and I just didn't understand. Like, I didn't have the capacity, like, I don't know, with kids, whatever, send them to daycare, you know. So I feel
Put them outside with a bowl of water.
I feel like those years I didn't really show up for her.
Wow.
And, you know, and then as I got to kind of in our 40s and when the kids were older, and especially when I really got to know your husband and your kids more, I was like, oh yeah, no, that was a whole, you guys were managing a football team.
We were all in it. And I never, ever felt that way.
Yeah.
Wow.
Never. Isn't that interesting? So we're all about our own feelings, really.
It's so interesting. It's a valid point, though, because in friendship is oftentimes a mirror for your self-reflection, right? So
Absolutely.
most of the times, the conflicts that you face in your friendships all point back to things where you're developing, where you're grooming, because you were setting new boundaries around your directiveness and how much and what is a heavy pour and what's just a perfect, you know what I mean?
Just
like,
good shot.
Okay, Julie,
We don't need a double here.
Yeah, because if you do it here with her, you'll do it in other areas, and
my
you're
husband.
like, yes,
Right.
My husband's listening, like,
Yeah.
But it's true, and likewise on the other side, you were trying to figure out how to manage like her life looked like a lot of complexities that she's making simple, but you're like, where do I, it's like if you're double dutching, where do I jump in at the right moment? Okay, you know what, I'm gonna stay out at this round because
I think that when I look back, like I feel like sort of the early kid years, I'm like, I don't really have anything to say about this.
Yeah.
But then like as your kids got ready to go to college,
Now they adore her.
Yeah. And like
there's a sweet spot in that too. Like I realized as an auntie, I'm a godmother. I have lots of godchildren, and it's so amazing. And I realized that I have a sweet spot up until like 3. I need like a couple gap years between 3 and 5. It gets a little tough for me.
Right.
When
Yeah.
they're
The toddler thing. Yeah.
I'm like,
so
oh my
I'm funny,
God.
like toddlers, babies, toddlers.
Tracy's
no, thank
like,
you.
call me when they're 15. Yeah.
I'm back in around-
I like when they come in, when they start to talk and they worship me. That's where I like about the 3-4-year-old worship. And then I good till about 9 or 10, and then I'm back.
And you know it, but see, you have to know like what your sweet spots are, because if not, you'll try to be in all the spots, and you're not good at it. You know what I mean? And you want to be good when you're there.
Well,
and
you're
so,
speaking a different language during that time.
Yes.
So,
because
But
I
I
could
think
see in the teen years, I would call you.
Yeah.
Right around 10, I'd be like, Aunt Tracy, I have a question
teens,
about
I am
boys.
so
and like,
Auntie T. That's
Auntie T, that's what they all call me.
I could feel that.
But
yeah.
I think also to go back to what keeps coming up too is that in a friendship, like there's so much stuff you can't take personally. Like when the kids were little for Julie, like now that I'm close to my brother and watch, like, my brother called me I called my brother one day, and his are 18 months apart, and I was like, how's it going? He's like, good. We only called poison control twice today. Like, and they shit. It's like and it's like it had nothing to do with me.
Nothing.
Like it wasn't.
Yeah.
She wasn't not calling me because I pissed her. It's like she's
time
just
ran out.
She's just trying to have somebody not die.
trying to survive.
Yeah.
Survive.
Yeah.
Like
literally, it's 11 o'clock. You look up and you're like, no one spit up, or
Right.
did they spit up? Did we clean it up? Like it's just the time runs out.
No teacher called today. We're good.
Yeah.
We're good. It's a good day, and you want to have as many of those as possible. But but anyway, I love that. And so the healing oftentimes is so good, because I do think sometimes people come into friendship saying it's a dumping ground. I just want to pour all of me here and let it all be safe to dwell. But in friendship, a lot of times you realize when I dump, there's a lot of things that my friend's going to help me heal through. So if you come, people will mistake sometimes friendship for therapy. And I do think that in friendship, you realize, girl, you might need a couple hours of therapy on that one.
On
That
top
is
of
not,
this, right?
Yeah.
It's not going
I'm
to be
at my limit
sufficient
here.
today.
But I think that we, some people have the impression that it is the place where you just dump it.
Yeah.
You just drop there and you land there, and there's never anything that you'll have to fix. And most of the fixes are self-awareness driven. Like most of the fixes come from me fixing me,
Right.
because my friend has reflected something in me that I need to correct.
Yeah.
Versus it's a friendship fix.
Well,
And
go ahead.
Well, I do think for Julie and I that we have, because we have this 54-year trust, and because we know that it's like we can say to each other, you got to clean up your side of the street.
Yeah,
like we'll call
that's
each other.
good.
We'll
Like,
call each other.
well.
Yeah, she called about something recently, and I was like, it's on you.
Yeah.
And she was like, oh, I knew it.
I knew it.
Yeah.
Well, because when you have this deep level of friendship, that person sees you.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
they're not your romantic partner, so they see all of you, and they're so they can be objective actually if you trust them enough to be. And it can be confronting when somebody can fully see you, like that mirror you're
Absolutely.
talking
You're like,
about.
I don't want to be seen.
Yeah,
right now.
but what a gift to allow yourself to be seen and receive feedback and truly receive it in the spirit that it's given.
Yeah.
So now, what would you all say to a great girlfriend? Because I get all the questions, so I'm trying to dump them there.
We got it.
Let's go. We're good. Let's belly up to the mic
I'm
here.
like, ladies, these are the experts here. 54 years, I'm taking notes.
We have time in the saddle.
What would you say to the great girlfriends who are feeling lonely in their friendships, who are feeling like maybe these friendships are not at the quality that I need, and who are not feeling like they're getting the value of the relationships? Have you ever, I'll ask this twofold question now. Have you ever been in a space in your life where you accepted or tolerated people because of maybe it was a loneliness, and you're like, well, this person's close in proximity, it's a neighbor, we have drinks on Tuesday, we're a friend, right? And then you look up 10 years and you've got the same Tuesday drinks with the neighbor who you didn't really like per se, but there was proximity and a couple of cool things, and you realize you want more. So we got people that sit in that space, right, where they're like, you know what, I've been tolerating a certain type of friendship or woman, because I was in a space where I just accepted whatever came my way. Now I want to be more intentional, and I'm feeling a bit lonely. I don't know how to either make an exit or ask for more out of relationships. What would you say to that great girlfriend?
Yeah. You want to?
Yeah. I mean, I would say if you're feeling lonely in a friendship, how are you showing up in that friendship? Right?
It's that saying, how you do one thing is how you do everything.
Yeah.
So if you are accepting mediocrity, if you will, in that relationship, then how else are you being that, across the board, accepting that minimal level of whatever you're looking for.
Yeah.
So you have to look at yourself.
And also to understand that sometimes life changes, and sometimes the friendships, that there are, we are beyond lucky to have a friendship of this level. And we, I don't want to say we work hard at it, but it's very important to us. So we show up. But I have had other women in my life where I'm like, yeah, I kind of grew out of this, or they grew out of this.
Which is okay.
Which is fine.
Not every person you meet in life is supposed to be your 54-year-old friend.
Yeah.
That's a lot of people to carry through life.
People come with contracts. I'm like, no, I'm not signing that.
Yeah, way.
We're doing lunch.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
And we'll see about the rest.
Yeah, but I think how are you showing up if you feel, if you feel lonely, how are you showing up? Are you really communicating? And then also see what's their bandwidth to give back, because some people might not have it.
Yeah.
It's got to be organic to a certain level.
Ooh, that's my favorite.
Oh, it is?
Oh, my goodness.
I didn't
it
know
has
that.
to be organic.
It has to be organic.
We just got to vibe and like vibing and enjoy it and want to keep it up, if so. And if not, we had a great
It was great.
dates.
Or I'll see you when I see you. And when I think about it, I'll reach out, But if you have to sign a contract that we're going to have drinks on Tuesday at 7, I'm going to run.
Yeah.
I'm not your cat.
I feel
I'm
like
not
with
your
Julie, and this is funny. There are some days where I want to call her and talk to her, but we basically need about an hour on the phone every time we talk.
Yeah.
So there's some days where I'm like, I can't call her because we have so much to talk about.
Busy. We have a lot.
Yeah, we got to talk about it. So sometimes I'll just send a text, or I got a quick like this. But there's
text
never
a lot.
we never run out of things to talk about.
No,
ever.
there's no trying around it.
Yeah.
But it's okay not to keep people forever. That's what I would say. And also, if you are hungry for a new friend, are you doing things that bring you joy? So if you like to hike, or you like to go to the gym, or whatever, that's where you're going to find other people that you have something in common with. It's kind of like dating, right? You need to put yourself out there, not just sitting at home and hoping somebody shows up.
Somebody just told me, I thought this was so great. They moved to a new city. They moved to Portland or somewhere, and knew for work, big job, knew no one. So she put up on Facebook. She's like, I'm moving to Portland. I know literally no one. Does anyone have friends in Portland that they could set me up on a friend blind date?
I love
so
that.
She said,
so
so
cool.
she went up.
Proactive.
She was proactive, and she went and she was like, everyone I met was lovely. Some people I vibed with, some people I didn't. She said every cup of coffee or drink I had led me to something.
Yeah.
And out of, however many, she went on like 12 or some like crazy man. She's like, I met 4 people who I made real friendships with.
Yeah.
So, put yourself out there.
But when you find somebody who enjoys what you enjoy, then I think the likelihood of it lasting longer is increased. But you have to put yourself
totally
out there.
that. Oh,
Be
my
vulnerable.
Goodness.
Be
It's okay.
vulnerable.
Vulnerability. I love that. I can't keep you all day. I would love to. I would love to. We'll probably have to have you back, Julie. You got to come back down.
My kids think, well, are you guys moving down there? You're here all the time.
Yes. Yes.
hope we do.
My husband,
I know.
my husband I don't know who he loves more, her or her husband. But it's like,
but the fact that he has that option, it's like, hey, listen, take your pick.
Right.
Whoever you want to love more
Well, that
today,
was
go love more.
important because we can't let her marry somebody we didn't like.
No.
yeah.
This is gonna be a problem.
Our biggest trauma.
Talk about being bossy. No.
Our biggest trauma around our wedding was that it happened the week before her husband's 60th. So we were like trying to figure out, like, we're going on a honeymoon. Can we hop over? And then we extended
So we're going
our
to plan
honeymoon.
another, just a reason to do another thing.
Yeah.
I love that.
No, see, that's the point.
So
A real
special.
friend, no stress, no guilt.
Yeah.
Not like, what do you mean you're not coming to the party?
Yeah.
Like, oh no, okay, do your thing. Well,
Yeah.
good. That
Good.
gives
We'll have
another chance.
We'll have another weekend.
Another
Great.
weekend.
Have a whole life together, so there's
Right.
never a loss.
But I
there.
think it's looking
good.
at the abundance. What I've seen, and more so when you're younger. But if you're in strife with your friends, if there's always, I think you're looking at it at a place of scarcity, not abundance. Like, were we so disappointed that we missed his 60th birthday? Of course, we were on our honeymoon.
Yeah.
But we both were like, oh my God, maybe the 4 of us should go to Palm Springs. Like, we thought of all these other things.
Yep.
And
Yep.
we're like, let's look at the abundance of this friendship, not the scarcity.
You get to do double.
Oh, this has been so special. Great girlfriends. My hope from this was that, like when you put great romantic relationships in front of people, they learn to believe in love. Well, likewise, when you put great friendships in front of people, that they learn to believe in the power of friendship. They understand that there's a culture, a DNA, a heartbeat to friendship.
Yes.
There's this, it's a safe space for self-awareness. Where you're not dodging bullets. You get the padding you need to really learn and grow and return back stronger, more equipped, more prepared, more vulnerable and transparent, and just more valuable to the relationship. And so my hope, great girlfriends, is that, I already know Tracy and Julie have given you so much to rethink and how we reimagine how we approach our friendships today, and the type of things that we pour into these relationships, because we know what we pour in is what we're going to get out. So hopefully we'll start to be more intentional about how we pour into our relationships and how we celebrate and honor them, even recognizing the differences in seasons. And so I can't thank you enough for being here. Tracy was on before. We talked about decluttering our way to happiness, and it was so wonderful. And we talked about sharing friendship stories, and she was like, I got one. And the email went out seconds later. I was like, well, hi, Julie. Nice to meet you. I hear great things. Let's talk about this friendship.
Do it.
So I'm so glad that we made it happen, and that we'll make it happen again for sure. Where can they keep up with you? And Julie has a great product, but yes, Julie has a great product, but where can we keep up with you on social media? Give us all the things so that we can.
So for me, I'm at Tracy_McCubbin, MCCUBBIN. Instagram's my big platform, TracyMcCubbin.com. I have a newsletter. I have 5-minute things to declutter in under 5-minute challenges. It's very positive space, but Julie's the one the ladies need to be following.
Well, thanks, but they need to follow you because
We need
her
to declutter
tips are
too.
like,
Yeah.
have you seen Tracy's
Oh, yeah, I'm
tips?
on there.
Oh,
I love
my
'em.
good. My
I love
husband's
'em.
like, oh, Tracy said I need to clean the garage. I'm like, yeah, she said that like 5 years ago. Could you get on it?
Still means it.
Yeah, she still means it. So they can find me at Bossa Bars, bossabars.com. So I'm a serial entrepreneur, and 3 years ago, I started a protein and energy bar company for women in midlife and all the stages of menopause, from perimenopause to post, because I think it's one of the most empowering times of our life stages. So they can find me at bossabars.com. And also on Instagram, I do a live every single Tuesday at 11 Pacific called Menno Lounge Talks, where I interview women who are doctors, other experts related products, advocates, just for women, so women can learn more and also figure out who they are in this experience, get that expert advice and tips, and feel a lot better going through these next probably 50 years of their life.
Oh my goodness.
And I will definitely, as a sign of underscore this, that having our moms probably went through menopause at the same time, never talked about it, white knuckled through. To have a girlfriend to talk about menopause with, just like, oh, these heart palpitations doesn't mean I'm having a heart attack. It's a part of, oh, this brain fog is real. Like, this conversation that Julie's bringing into the zeitgeist, like, we're going to talk about this and we're going to share it. Like, my hope is that it for generations to come, because we went into it blind.
Yeah.
And your daughter will know about it before she gets
all
there.
The tools. I know. Me too. I have all the tools. And
we got
this
you.
is good. Thank you so much for being here today, ladies.
Thanks
Thank you,
for
great
having
girlfriends, for listening. Please leave your reviews, and I can't wait to see your emails and DMs about this episode. But I want to thank you both for being here today. Thank you so
Sybil.
much. This is wonderful.
Thank you.
All right, great girlfriends. Did you enjoy this week's episode of the podcast? If so, would you please give us your amazing review on iTunes? Every single review helps another great girlfriend get plugged into the podcast and the community. Speaking of community, make sure you join our Facebook group at The Great Girlfriends, follow us on Instagram at The Great Girlfriends, and on Twitter at _greatGFS. I'm Sybil Amuti, and I'm out. Peace.
Yay Networks.